Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel.
Hello.
Hello.
So we both found out that we were both excited. Do you want to say why we're excited?
Yes, because I popped on my Instagram, in that moment of like, okay, I need a break from like stressful life. And then the first thing I see is Maurice Bernard reposted your article. And he's
Yes.
got a really good following and high engagement. Like amazing.
I would think being the lead in the soap opera we have a podcast about.
In this world,
But
you
yes.
never know.
Okay, so I'm just excited that he saw it. And like I've said before, when I'm writing a blog post, I can't say I always know where I'm going when I
I love
start.
that.
But
Your art
usually
is your art.
but like I'll have somewhat of an idea, but then sometimes like a large chunk of it doesn't make it, and it really kind of like takes shape because as I'm writing it, I'll have my own General Hospital flashbacks, and then
Yes.
that kind of gets worked in, right? Like whatever pops up gets worked in. So when I was doing Sunny's, I think this is might be weird like to hear, but when I was doing the Sunny one and I found the ending, right? Because that's what hit me as I was writing it. Like when I was writing so all you hear is me go, I gasped.
To your own
I
thoughts. I love it so
gasped.
hard.
Yeah. Because when I was nearing the end, I was thinking about, okay, so I'm writing about Sonny. I'm writing about the fact like he could be mayor. And then how do you not think about his what if episode? And then like it
Exactly.
just hit me like a ton of bricks. What if it was never about what ifs? What if he was always meant to lead a legitimate life and this is where he could end up as, by being mayor? That he would have ended up there anyway. So I got freaked out by my own thought. But then I started to remember the battle he had when he was gaining his memory back with Mike. So then I'm like, okay, this is going to be tough because General Hospital has kind of removed a lot of General Hospital clips off of YouTube, so they are a bit harder to find
Okay.
because they now kind of like they air their own stuff on their website, right? So
Yeah.
it's been a while now, but it's like harder to find like older clips. And so I was looking for that clip of Mike and Sonny because I remember Sonny having a hard time, you know, dealing with who he was as a person. Yes, we
Yes.
saw this Mike character guy who could like handle a gun. It was like, ooh, how do I have all these skills? So we would see that there was like Sunny in him, but we obviously saw this softer side. And when like he was getting his memories back, he was kind of pushing against, and there was a whole debate of like, are you one or the other? And then Mike was just trying to say, like, you need to look at the big picture. It's like all of you. Right. And I remember that. And then I started to think to myself because I was like, yeah, that is how the story ended, but it wasn't what all of Nixon Falls was about. And when I was writing my article about this idea that like Sonny, you know, has an issue with his dark side, but he also has an issue with the fact that like he's a good person too. Like he has an issue with
Yes.
himself, right? And
Yes.
so like Mike was that perfect example. Like that scene was a perfect example of that internal struggle. And the whole idea that like this is the chance for Sonny to be like the best version of him, right? Because
Mm.
he'll be like legit. And then I thought to myself like I guess that's what the whole Nixon Fall story was meant to be, but it did not come through.
No, that self-reflection, that whole figuring out where he actually stands and who he is without the choices he's already made. Like, no, the whole Nina thing took over and him not wanting to find his family took over. But it was
Yeah,
definitely there.
yeah, because when I look back at it, like, okay, that is how it ends, right? It ends with him kind of being like, who do I want to be? I don't
Yeah.
want to be that guy. He's so bad. And then when he comes back to Port Charles, everyone's like, he's not himself. He's like a little bit of Mike. And then it was supposed to be this thing where he like fuses together. But truthfully, like if this was an arc about Sonny's growth and his character and like
Hmm.
and it was for Nina, right? This is what Sonny would have been, without the mob. I experienced it for a few months.
Yes, exactly.
But like when I was writing about it and then I started thinking, I was like, oh, I guess it was that. I guess they sort of ran with that storyline, but unfortunately, it didn't hit like deep, deep, right? It wasn't centered on Sunny. And then I started to think, I don't know, like, look, we're past Sticks and Falls and we're in a place where we
Mhm.
like Nina. So I don't know if this is just my, rose colored glasses speaking, but part of me is like, would I have appreciated the Nixon Falls storyline if they really hammered Sunny's inner conflict? Like if they really dug deep and really made a point of like, at least for the audience, understanding that this is the question we're asking. Who is Sunny without that
Mhm.
part of him? Like I just wondered if it was something that could have been appreciated more rather than this countdown to Nina being found out.
We were in a different headspace back then, in all
Yeah.
honesty. And the thing is, the way it was conveyed a lot of the times was Nina saying, "You love it here, right? This is great, right?" There wasn't, yes, we had that one scene where he's like conflicted, but it was really like kind of Nina taking the lead in trapping him there more so as him walking through this process.
I too felt trapped, right? That was the whole feeling. I felt trapped because my soap opera was weird. And you
It
took
was so
someone
weird.
and it really was. Like unfortunately, whenever they take somebody away, like I remember when Nicholas got locked up in a cabin for a while, I just don't like it. It makes me feel claustrophobic when characters are like isolated somewhere not in the right setting, or even when I watch a sitcom and they're not in the regular setting, I'm like, I don't like it. It's really disorienting. And it really was more of a countdown, but again, they never really pushed that. They would just kind of show like, look at Mike handle a gun. I wonder why that is, everybody. It was just, I don't know. And then to have the dramatic ending with like Mike, I just felt like with such a dramatic ending with Mike and such significant and heavy themes, like where were those in the whole storyline?
I know, right? Like, but I do like, pulling from that story, like you said, when they did that like fantasy episode where he was, the police commissioner. Like, I
Yeah.
love that the new writers that we've gotten used to and they found their stride are going back and finding these stories and making it make sense now.
Well, we were talking about that, right? Like early on, noticing that they're going the nostalgic route. They really are
Yes.
going back and finding what the connections were and like amplifying some in a way that made sense. Like while they were finding their footing, there was that happening. But I mean, not in a million years did I think they would go that deep. And I feel that they are. We started
Hmm.
talking about this because they are revisiting a very pivotal time in the Jason Carly timeline
Oh,
of
yes.
and the whole thing, like this week was when I finally researched being like, when was this shot again? Like I was literally trying to go back to remember like Sonny's been shot, but like which time are they referring to? And then I found the clip, I posted it. This was stunning to me. This was a Christmas episode, by the way. Like I'm actually
No.
so this episode, I think like when you're looking at the clips that I posted, I might have combined 2 days, like the day of the shooting and then a bit of the following day. This is like we're talking December 26th here. Okay.
Oh
So
my
that's
word.
that
Okay.
shooting episode, I believe, aired like the 26th. And like while Sunny is twirling and getting shot, there's the original Carly at the town square or wherever they go, something square, with Michael spinning him around with Bobby. And then there's the Quartermains having Christmas and Alan and Monica sharing a kiss. It's
That
a
is
Christmas
so
episode.
It's so wild, but even the way it's filmed, and I know it's like of the time, but it felt like nighttime TV. It was very like dark and
Pretty.
gloomy and violent and very dramatic, and I was so pulled in.
But that is why I was watching it though, because I remember that I think maybe it was they were trying to promote Port Charles, like their other show, but I remember there was a special where they aired like a General Hospital like new episode like at night, and I think that was to
Yes.
launch the spin-off series they had. But that
Hmm.
is a big reason why I started watching the show. Was most soap operas have like those like corporations, like we're like a fashion family or we do this
Yes.
kind of business. And that was what was unique about General Hospital was that like their business was the mob and there was a lot of like violence and there was a lot of action, and that is what set it apart like 20 something years ago when I started watching it. That was a big part of it.
Well, I remember when I was watching multiple soap operas when my life was far less filled with responsibilities. And I used to dabble every now and then with like Passions and Days of Our
Mhm.
Lives, but like Days of Our Lives in particular, I used to watch it for giggles because like Marlena was possessed by a demon,
Yes.
whereas like in General Hospital, we're talking about like the mob and stuff like that. So I dwindled down my soap operas until it was just like GH was the one that I kept, way before they decided to cut a lot of soap operas. But yes, like by far their storylines and who the types of, like you said, big stories, like the mob versus like the quartermains versus everything was so vastly
Yeah.
different than everybody else.
And so the clip I ended up doing, so the first half of the clip that's all dramatic and slow motion. So when I was watching it, the first half was working with the sound and the last half wasn't. So the one I posted, I told you that I found the sound, guys. So I hope you love it because I found the song to add to the drama, because otherwise it was just like a
Yes.
silent clip. And then the sound only starts in the next clip where you have Alexis and Sonny sharing some dialogue. But even just watching it, like I can't believe I was hashtagging Emily and Xander. Like it was so crazy
So
watching
wild.
that old clip, and even watching, because even the dialogue, I was watching a bit of like Sunny at the hospital and like Carly in the waiting room talking with Alexis and Ned being there, and like Taggart and Matt coming in trying to talk to Carly, kind of being like, sorry this happened, and trying to question things. It's just funny because I find like the old, like that time frame with Carly, the dialogue was way more like babbly. So much being said. Like literally, like you're listening to the dialogue, you're like,
Okay.
they're saying this out loud, like all the thoughts. Like when she's in the waiting room with Alexis, because Carly's not there when the shooting happens, and Alexis
Okay.
is like, he saved my life. And then Carly just spewing stuff coming out of her mouth is like, wow, it just dawned on me. It didn't have to be Sunny. You were there, Emily was there, Xander was there. It didn't have to be my husband. And I was like, dude,
Oh
did you
boy.
just say this could have been you, Alexis? And I wish it was you. I didn't even know what to say when I saw that. She's like, it could have been that young quartermain girl, Emily. It could have been Xander. And like Ned's sitting right there. And like Alexis is being like super calm about it and like being supportive because it's like, it's happening to Carly. But even in the old Carly Jason scenes, it's like he's so silent, not very giving, and
Yes.
she's just going and going and talking about her feelings and probing and just on and on. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? I'm doing this. Like, what's happening? Like, it's just the dialogue is so different. They literally just say everything.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so it was definitely fun watching those old clips and making a connection to what they were drawing on. And there's something too that I find pretty classic that they brought back.
Hmm. Okay. Share,
It's
share.
been a long time since we drugged people and posed them in bed together.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, whoa, we're going a little old school here. That's amazing.
Very. That is a soap move, and we haven't seen it in a long time. Because the last time it happened, it was not great. Remember? What was her name? Drew's baby mama? Oscar's mom?
Oh, I know. Other Carly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She kind of ruined it because she went dork. She,
Super dark
yeah,
eyes.
this is different. We were just drugging, posing, drugging, setting a scene on Drew. Very, very different. So I don't know about this Portia Nina plan. What do you think?
I love Nina just like bringing people together based on revenge, but she's the like level headed one. So I'm loving that part of things. I Oh man, it's like I'm desperately hoping it works,
I
but I
don't
feel
think
like
so.
this story has miles to go.
Oh yeah, because I think what they're trying to show us is like, well, the girls have talked about it. Portia and Nina have talked about the fact that like Drew's the kind of person that he's so snaky and he flips things around, and Willow believes everything
Mhm.
that he says,
Yes.
and I don't see how or why that would change. Like the moment, it doesn't matter what Willow sees, which is ironic because the last conversation she had with Drew, she stared at him in his face and she goes, is there something I'm not seeing? As the whole audience is like
Ugh,
yelling at the TV.
screaming.
And what they're banking on is that Willow will come home and see things with her own eyes. But I don't think it matters what she sees. All Drew will say was, "It wasn't me." Then,
Exactly. Oh, I can't wait for that clip and you putting the song onto the clip.
because I think I already used it with the whole scandal when it came out, like Michael with the when he was watching the video.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I used the song already,
That's
but
all
I
right.
feel
It still applies.
oh, I would use it again because I feel like Willow is the only person. That's who the song was written for, because I think she's the only person who would believe those lines, and
Right?
she will believe those lines. So okay, so that's the thing. So right now we watch Nina and Portia, and seriously, since when is $6,000 a lot to an heiress and a
I
co-chief
could
of staff?
not. I think it's
Right?
just because, yeah, I couldn't quite understand the negotiating. I think they just need to extend the scene.
Like $6,000 split two ways for Portia to get her life back and for Nina to get her daughter back. That is way less than a cult fee, entrance fee. Okay.
Exactly.
Right. So I just think run with it. But in terms of level headed, I mean, she was, and then Portia kind of pushed her, like your plan is helping you, not me. And then the moment she talked to Willow, she's like, sure, we have a deal. But this is the thing though, right?
Mhm.
So Willow's like, oh my gosh, Michael doesn't want to see me. Doesn't want to see.
Mhm.
And then who did you think arranged for that initially?
Charlie.
Me too. Me too. I'm like, damn it. Like Carly did that.
Yeah.
But then we see that it's Drew. And I'm like, this is like crazy. You're jealous of a burn victim? You know what I mean?
So wild. Well, just that scene of her explaining,
Ew.
which I love because, of course, anybody who says something to her is regurgitated back into the world. So all of the Jason thoughts were in her brain. She's saying it to Drew. And all I kept picturing is what you've been calling Drew, basically like the mistress, that version of that person who's on the other side of things that is so insecure because they blew up
Yes.
somebody's life and needs to make it work. And his eyes, like he did such a great job of showing a little bit of panic, coming back to control, trying to manipulate, use her words against it. Like he was trying every little trick in the book.
I thought it was so funny because he's like, Carly could be lying. Michael could not be doing well. She's like, exactly. I should go see if that's true. Like you said, Carly could be lying. Favorite line. Yeah, I did say that. And I'm like, how does she not see that he's gritting his teeth and saying that to her? Just the level of jealousy. And then he's like, remember, this is the same guy who wants guardianship of her children. Okay. In
Just in
the
case
event
something
that,
bad happens to you, that he says with a smile.
oh, yeah, in case Michael doesn't make it and you're incapacitated. I was just like, you talk about this so lightly, but I'm just saying, this is the guy who signed the papers. And then when one parent is going out of town, he's like, me too. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Uh-huh,
what
uh-huh,
about the
uh-huh.
kids? It's like,
What about the children?
it's easy to take guardianship when the whole plan was I will never watch them and I'll hire nanny upon nanny upon nanny. Okay.
Exactly.
So I
Thank you
just
very
thought that was
much.
so nuts on the heels of him signing those papers or talking to her about it, having presented her with them. It's like, oh my God, you're going to go see your ex husband? Let me come with you. Let's make it a
That's
romantic
a
getaway. I was
romantic.
like,
Oh, I could not.
it was so inappropriate and so disrespectful. And I'm like, at what point is Willow going to take off Michael's wedding ring?
All of that, all of everything you're saying, it really gives me rage when I watch them. And
But I
which means
love,
they're doing a great job.
no, they are. But I love that to his face. She's like, well, I was thinking I should go see my husband. And I'm like, you're calling
So
him that
bad.
to Drew. Do you not know that Drew is your mistress? And you keep referring to your husband.
It's the
He
best.
he thinks he is your husband. And this is like hurting his soul. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah,
Hilarious.
you saw like the knives like hit him every time she must have said it like 3 times, and you see it like twist in his heart. He's like, husband. And then as she wears the ring, they do it again.
Listen to me. I love General Hospital. And no matter who I like, don't care for, whatever storyline is maybe least of interest, I do not fast forward. I do not. I soak it all in, or at the very best, I scroll on my phone while it's playing. So technically, logistics corner, I do not fast forward. But when they were going at it, fast forward. That I could not stomach to see. Just could
Same.
not. He's so needy. She's like, I'm not gone yet. And it was such a double entendre, meaning like, I'm not gone yet. We have time for sexy time. But also, I'm not gone yet because I will be. So it's like there was that. But what I did not appreciate was what in the retelling, reenactment of what happened between her and Jason was that. From what I recall, she's sitting in the Quartermain house, practically begging, sees Jason walk in and was like, Mail, Mail, can you help me? Mail, can you solve my problem? Mail, help, Mail. And then Jason was like, It's Jason. It's Jason. And I am going to talk to you. Okay. And then when she kept saying, Help, help, he said, he said to her,
I love
you know,
but I love the scene so much better like this. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I'm gonna hush and listen to the rest of the scene.
and then and then he told her, he's like, I'm not the one that can help you. And then she's like, other male, other male. He's like, no, focus, Willow, focus over here. And then he told her,
Look at the tweet. Look at the tweet.
he said, the only person that can help you is you. And she was like
Mind
thrown.
blown.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she was like begging him. And then when she talks to, and then remember, she was looking, she sought him out. And then when she's retelling the story, she's like, I bumped in to
Yes.
him. And then he asked me, why hadn't you talked to Michael? And I was like, that is so not what happened. You're acting like you bumped into him. And then he was all aggressive and all about Michael. And that is actually the reason you went to Jason, because he is all about Michael and loves Michael and knows Michael.
Yeah.
And he gave you normal human advice. Talk to your husband. How long have I been going off on the fact that these two have
I
not had a
know.
conversation? I'm like, how is it possible that all of these decisions can happen without a singular conversation? And what threw me in that whole scene was when he told her, like, look, I just think at this point, again, it's gone really far. Go talk to Michael in person. And then she said, don't you think that's drastic?
Like,
Drastic?
okay, but you're moving in with your mistress. You're trying to. I could not. Like, she is impossible to watch sometimes,
I
honestly.
just, I'm like, drastic, you Looney Tune. Okay, so let's
Yes.
get this straight. He says, yes, I get it. You have to go on a flight, but you're lucky for you. Drew's super rich. That's not really an issue. You know, you going to book a flight. Your mom, anybody could have booked you a flight, a private jet,
Anybody.
whatever. Anyone, not you, but anyone. And you don't think it's drastic that this news comes out about your affair, an affair that you wanted to share with Michael after the holiday, that Michael also wanted to talk to her
Here's a
about.
gift, guys.
And like, then you guys were going to talk it out and see what's what. Right. But
Mm.
instead, it comes out and you're like, oh my gosh, I had an affair. How dare you know about it? and and embarrassed me about it and accidentally stream your phone. Guess what? Stealing your children real fast. And then he catches her in the act of stealing the children and says, no, like, take the children. And then again, they never talk. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to go to DC. I don't remember when this happened, guys, but going to DC, taking one
Timeline
of
is blurry.
blurry. Taking one of your kids out of state, you don't even bother to say, hey, Michael, I'm going with my lover and we're going to be publicly photographed together. And the only reason I slept with him again was because you served me with divorce papers. How rude. I sleep with your uncle. I take the kid you gave to me without telling you to go visit said lover. And you want to serve me with divorce papers? Like, that was a slap in the face. Like, she actually feels offended that he served her with divorce papers while she was with her lover.
It is a struggle every moment of every decision that she has made. Like, even in Germany today, a regular human like that wants to fight for their children, I would be back every single day. She's not working. I don't know who's paying her. I don't know what she's doing. She's got a plane ride. She's got a hotel. I would be there every single day until they wanted to talk to me.
Yeah, like she's like, it's about the children, tell him. And then it's like my feelings are hurt. She's like, Michael just cuts me off and Drew gives me attention and tells me I'm amazing even when I'm not. I'm leaving. That's the whole point, right? That's why she never
Yes,
wants to talk to
exactly.
Michael, because Michael would reflect her role, her actions. He will reflect to her all the things that other people are pointing out. And remember, the DC thing isn't the craziest. She's like,
No.
while I'm wearing this wedding ring, I've decided after a fight with Carly that I am going to move in. I think it was maybe after a fight with Tracy. She's like, now that I'm upset, I'm going to be reactive and I'm going to decide that we're all going to move in together. And I'm not going to tell Michael about it. That's not drastic. And then I'm also going to sign over guardianship
Oh my goodness.
while my husband is alive and able to wish other people happy birthday. And then when she finds Drew, she's like, oh my gosh, please tell me you didn't do that thing that you said you would do and I consented to and I even signed the papers to. Please tell me you didn't. I'm thinking. It's not in motion, is it? And I'm like, hey, Looney, did you not think it's weird? This guy who apparently listens to you and you talk everything through, you didn't think it was weird that he drafted these legal papers and were sitting on
Mhm.
them and waited till you were upset, unlikely to sign them to present them to you?
No, she can't think straight.
Like, are you not annoyed that such a big decision happened with him deciding the course of action your family would take and not even you? Like, you're in charge of your kids and you keep allowing him to make decisions. So, anyways, so while Portia and Nina are doing all this stuff, their ammo is what happened in Germany. So, this is the thing. Like, at some point, Carly is going to want to know what Michael said.
Mhm.
Michael's going to
Mhm.
say she never came. And then Drew is definitely going to try to blame Carly.
Oh yeah, big time.
But remember, we've got Brick. She had a conversation with Brick about Michael, and she also has Brennan on her side. So
Yes.
somebody is going to find the wire transfer of money.
Yes.
I just hope
Auditing,
yes.
financial auditing to the rescue.
So I'm hoping that like Carly figures this out sooner than later and tells Nina, what did you think? It happened. Nina came through the kitchen.
No, but it was my heart. I watched it like 3 times and I
Yes.
like paused when she was like leaning down at the door because it was like by far the best. She's like, "Oh, my bestie's in there. I see you." And then Carly just looks at her and turns away. But she still wanted her there. They still had a conversation. And honestly, I loved every part of what Nina said. Like, she let Carly have her,
Mhm.
word
Mhm.
vomit. She let her say
Yeah.
all the things. She stood up for herself in a very graceful, polite way about Nell, which Carly agreed to. Like, that scene
Oh
filled my
yeah.
heart so much. What about you?
It was exactly how I pictured it, and the best part, it was so authentic to their own
Yes.
characters, and I love
Yes.
that they handled it each in the most Carly and Nina way possible. The way Nina came in, Carly's annoyed reaction, it was just so true to their characters, and also just that mutual respect was everything.
Oh, yes. I need, they need to put more of those scenes in place. It's like, I loved when she called her, like, Nina called Carly, like, the better mouthpiece.
Yes, but, like, the thing is, Nina didn't fill her in completely, right? She didn't tell Carly
Hmm.
about the Portia of it all.
No, she did not. And there's still the big secret of her sleeping with Drew.
Yeah. I mean, you tell that to Carly, it's over. Like, it's
But
just
here's the thing, the
over.
more I think about this, the more it's like a moot point because, like she was saying to Portia, like, even though Portia doesn't know, nobody really knows, but she alludes to the
No.
fact that basically there's no proof. Like, at the end of the day, it's her word against Drew's, and who is Willow really going to believe right now at this point in time? Like, if she had some sort of proof, fine. But I kind of agree with her. Like, keep it forever. Keep that locked away.
Yeah,
One, you're
no.
gross, and second, you have no actual proof, and he will just take that and then push you out of her life even further.
No, I agree. That the timing of that coming out needed to happen soon in. It
Yeah.
needed to happen the moment she left Michael.
Yes.
It needed to happen earlier, and Nina's not wrong. How many times has he kind of created a situation where Willow already got mad at Nina and she's quick to do it?
Yes.
So, and we've seen how he operates. So, yeah. So, definitely, it's really not something that can be used. It'll probably be something that comes out eventually because it's just fun for
Yes.
Willow as she processes all of it. But did you notice that when she went to Germany, that's where Brennan was in the WSB? Like, remember when he got out of jail and Anna
Yes.
went to seek him out? It was like the WSB headquarters.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so we're talking about like all the visits that Carly got, and there is a notable one. There's a notable for me conversation that happened.
Heck yeah.
Okay, okay. So I'm referring to the Carly Jason conversation.
Oh yeah, 100%. So what did you think about it?
Like 100%, 1000% confirmation of the path they're headed on. Okay. Like this is huge to
Yes.
talk in detail in this way. So, again, remember, we talked about this. They've opened a portal. They've opened a portal. They've reactivated the timeline. And they're saying, okay, we found a reactivate button. Please hit go. And that's what they did. So, he explained why he didn't pull her in with the whole Sonny storyline and the whole idea about like having a separate life from Sonny. So in the past, it was really dramatic. This idea that if this ever happened, Sonny would have to be off the canvas, and then he was for a little bit.
Mhm.
But it's just not necessary in terms of the paths that they're going. And Sonny even solidified that when they were in LA. I was laughing. I'm like, so in the wild, you introduce Carly
Mhm.
like your friend. I'm like, okay, okay. I mean, it's in line with Carly, right? Because Carly basically solidified that Sunny is her ex, and they're transitioning into this permanent family place. And
Yes.
it was a full circle moment. You know, Carly was there for the initial injury and wanted to be here for this part. I mean, look, it is a life-threatening situation, so I can definitely understand why Carly would have been willing to take this on. If this was an
Mhm.
emergency that wasn't like medical, and more of just like drama, I can absolutely see, Jason, like protecting her and being like, you don't need to be involved in this. And the fact that he said, like, you deserve your own life. And I didn't want to pull you back in again. So it was just really interesting having certain things recognized, relationship shifts solidified and having all the like different standings kind of confirmed. And did you notice they were both in blue?
I did not notice they were both in
Matchy,
blue.
matchy. Yep.
Yes, I love that great fashion notice. But I love like because they're both in such different places in their lives. And he was away for a couple of years and like we both said, like he was a little stuck. And we're finally seeing him kind of making sense of the time
Yeah.
that's passed and reassessing what he wants and making space for people in his life, but also seeing it from their perspective. So, like we were saying for a really long time, like he really didn't have a storyline. He really didn't have much to say. But I love how his story has developed now. And on top of that, the press go for the Jason Carly.
Well, yeah. Like it was so irritating. Like you bring
Hmm.
back this legacy character and they pigeonholed him into just only Anna's storylines. Like this Carly Jason friendship was like non-existent when he came back. They were literally
Exactly.
written apart and completely into different things. And when we talk about the possibilities for Sunny, right, the idea of becoming mayor, it's like, and I wrote it in the article, like the reality is, if let's say he takes on that role, like when he was talking to Diane, he was saying, like I don't want to attract that level of attention. And the truth is, if all eyes are on him as mayor,
Hmm.
he will have to cut ties with any and everyone from his old life that was connected to that mob world, which is
Yes.
really interesting because they are moving separately. And I can see a world that's a little bit more separate where Jason and Carly could be.
Oh, absolutely. Like there's so many openings now. It's so cool to see.
Oh yeah, and I just like the conversation when Carly and Jason were trying to figure out what's what with Natalia, like what level of threat she would be. And it was really interesting because it's obviously not the same dynamic as Carly and Sonny, but just the whole idea of like, how much would you tell an ex? And Carly's like, well, everything. And I mean, while, Natalia did that out of like fear,
We
she,
think.
well, Carly wasn't wrong, right? Like, she said everything. She said all the things. So,
Yes.
did you recognize that person's face that went into Sonny's room?
No, did you? Was I supposed to?
Well, no, I don't think we were supposed to, but I do think it's interesting that they chose an actress that looks an awful lot like Colette because it was a bit confusing. It's not. It's not. Like I double
Yeah,
checked
yeah.
because Johnny's like, that's Colette. That's Brennan's like assistant. And I'm like, is it? I can't tell.
Right.
I
That's so
couldn't tell.
true.
So like, especially with the bonnet, I'm like, is it? Because I'm looking at a picture of her with her long hair. I'm like, no, I really don't think it's her, but I do think it's interesting that the actress that they hired to play the part shares similar roles because we all saw that Sidwell, you know, got the info from Natalia, so we're assuming a threat from Sidwell's end would have happened, and Carly should be aware of this because she knows Natalia knows about his medical condition and she knows who the ex-husband is.
So it's, yeah, that you bring up a really interesting point because Sidwell was definitely like making sure he clocks in his what's it called? When you're in a place and you're like, I was in that place, I didn't murder.
Oh, an alibi?
Yes.
Okay.
Jens was placing his alibi, and you're right. She did look a lot like Brennan's assistant, and was that intentional on Jens's part, so that when Sonny sees her and has this recollection and he's seen,
Oh.
he's gonna think that Brennan is the bad guy, right?
Oh, that's smart.
Right?
Yeah, that's
Sometimes I
really
say
good.
things that are great.
Yeah, because like I mean, Sunny woke up, so there's that,
Yes.
and I'm hoping Carly like hauls it to the room really fast.
She was talking very loudly in the hallway with Jason.
I know, I know. I loved her and Brick and all the flirting. It was so
So
amazing.
cute. I love them. I love him.
Well, speaking of Brick, so Jordan is like doing her new life.
Hard.
Yeah, like look, I don't hate what she said to Isaiah. I mean, damn. But she
Yeah.
said, if we were in a relationship, I'd have to make you understand. Period. Like that was her sentence. Like that was the sentence, and it just ended right there. And then he was
She's the
like,
best.
okay. And she's like, mm-hmm. So since we're not in a relationship, I don't have to make you understand, and I'm telling you it's over. Over and out.
No, but like she is just like somebody to look up to
My
always.
superhero. She's my favorite action figure. She's
Oh
everything.
yes.
And like the thing about Isaiah, though, like I get it. I can understand how this decision, like, really negatively impacts you. I could totally get it. It ruins the vibe when she dumps
Mm-hmm.
you because you're like, I don't want to be dumped. But what I couldn't understand is that, like, what he does for a living is a calling. And you save lives, but so does Jordan in her own way.
Yes.
So, like, cop or not, she understands that she could die. Like, I mean, she like chased after someone who tried to kill you. That's just who she is.
Absolutely. She runs into fire. Like that's who she is.
Yes. And Curtis is who he is. And he told it to Trina. And I was just like, why is this happening? Because he tells, like, he's bonding with Trina, saying, yeah, deceit doesn't sit well with me either. And I'm like, it doesn't? Miss Lou, it's Jordan defending Nina for her lies, but tossing your wives aside because of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. You pull Nina in close, but then push the wives away. Even though Jordan's lies were about her work and Portia's lies were personal and they were about a child.
Personal. What was your reason for lies, ma'am? It was a personal nature.
But it was like, how can you be? It's like he was married to like a law enforcement officer. Could you imagine going to the judge? Why she lied? Oh, about what? About her job. She had this oath that she respected. Like, come on. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, he's gross for sure.
Yeah. But he's not when it comes to Aurora, but he is when it
I
comes to
know.
Jordan.
Yes.
poor Jordan, because she has to like hang out with Sidwell. Although like he's probably a better time than like Drew for sure. But then I would just sit there and pretend to be okay with Drew. Ugh, gross.
But here's the thing, like it's acting on top of acting. So we're watching
Yes,
her play this role, right? So then you
so
see her
meta.
like right? You see her like sparkle at him and it really confused the crap out of Drew. He's like, "Whoa." Cuz remember they had like a moment in time where it could have been.
Oh yes, we even wanted that. We encouraged that. But it's like I didn't know what to make of Drew because I saw his like smarmy smirks at her, like
Yes.
I'm happy.
Yes.
And I was like, oh wow, so his brain cells are dead. Like he's so enthralled with this idea that like, yeah, I have an ally. And I'm like, not one part of you is like is pretend. Or you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
just
no gut instinct at this point in time.
because I honestly thought that when Jordan walked away, that he was gonna tell Jens, like, this girl is known for like her undercover work. You get that, right? And he was like, she's smart. It's a good thing you got her.
She
It's like,
likes me now, so we're
wow.
cool.
Wow. I just don't know how Jordan is gonna fare with Ezra, but I mean she's pretty controlled.
So here's the thing. The thing might not work out with the prostitute, but he
No,
definitely still vibes with Jordan. When does Jordan get pulled into the mix?
no one's gonna. Like it's like I don't see. Well, actually, she was suspicious of Portia. She was.
Yes.
Maybe. Maybe. If Jordan catches wind of something and thinks Portia could be
In trouble?
in trouble or an ally, it's true because she did help the family with the whole Trina thing. Like she did something in the hospital once. So Portia can do something to get the evidence Trina needed, like from that lawyer guy.
I just want to see all these strong women take down Drew. That's really it at the end of the day
But I
for
really
me.
hope whatever Anina's doing works. Like she's trying really hard to get her daughter back, and I really hope that one of her ideas does kind of do the trick. But also at the Metro Court, just surrounding this whole political issue was like Tracy and Laura's conversation, and I was happy because I'm like, where is the common sense aspect of this whole deal? And I guess I'm
Hmm.
glad that it was brought to the forefront when Laura pointed out like that like someone else will take his place. It's not like you're getting rid of Sonny and you're getting rid of crime.
Exactly.
But turns out Tracy wants a new devil.
Yeah, she wants to roll the dice. Bring in that new devil with the zincite.
I am shocked though and kind of disappointed because like even when Jens had come to see her like
Yeah.
last week or whenever it was, this is what I hoped would happen. I hoped that she would have allowed Yuri to stay. And then
Hmm.
I wish she would have asked Yuri his take because he has a background in the mob.
Oh my gosh.
And then
Yes.
since she was deciding between two mobsters, I thought she would have consulted with him and I was hoping that Yuri would like guide her cuz like while Sunny has hurt a lot of people, they also shared like this really nice scene when it was like the anniversary of Luke's death or something like that. They were in a parking lot
Yes.
together, so it's sort of like Sidwell has hurt a lot of people that you cared about. And the thing is, it's like yes, Sunny did some awful things and she has every right to kind of be hurt by him. But at this stage in life, if we're just taking the personal out of it and just looking at the fact that they love a lot of the same people and it's a lot of the people that Sunny would never hurt, as opposed to Sidwell.
So true.
But I just think that showing all of this support because I really do think this referendum isn't going to go how everyone thinks it was. Like Curtis put that out there. It's not over. So I already
Hmm.
see the avenue because we said like if Sunny runs for mayor, like I don't think and as I wrote in the blog post, like I don't really think that Sunny would ever run against Laura. I think him running will be as a result of like this whole referendum gaining buzz for Sunny and possibly a couple of clips where he's charming, Ezra saying some things, and especially if Diane does her job of pushing the philanthropy part
Yes.
and the charming part because Sunny is very charming. I could see like at some point maybe he gains public favor just by, a couple of clips or whatever. And he gets encouraged to run because maybe at this point, Laura is just out of the picture completely because already She's looking exhausted. Ezra's on her. Tracy's like, you should get with the.
Yes.
So I can see how like Laura will probably remove herself from the situation. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how it might end up being like a Sonny versus Ezra.
Situation. Okay. Okay. That's very plausible.
But could you imagine the deputy mayor as Diane and Diane and Sonny for the first time?
It's like it's the magic golden, whatever you want to call it. It's best team. Best team. I want to see it. I love it.
Could you
Just tired of
imagine? Like,
everybody's BS at the law firm, and they hired somebody new. So technically, there's somebody there to take over
exactly.
workload, right?
Exactly. You hired a new lawyer. For all we know, Molly could have a change of heart. And
Hmm.
I'm just saying, how do you go into business with Alexis when like the person's name you have on your wall is making terrible, terrible
Oh,
decisions?
terrible. So bad. Well, that's why she's stressed out and bags fell intentional or unintentionally. We don't know.
What do you think? Do you think it was intentional or unintentional? Like the other one. Not that.
I'm still undecided. I feel like Christina would have caught on sooner, or maybe she hoped Molly was up, but no, not intentional. Not intentional.
Because like it was extra, right? It was out of
Yes.
character. And we understand things like this can happen because you're trying to push something along. But I don't know. Like Diane is too slick. She's just too slick. And I'm like, and I felt very clumsy. So I have no idea, but I could not be happier that it was exposed. I just love Molly and Cody though. I forget. I wish I'd written it down properly, but the yesterday's episode, they were joking around about him being on maybe too many pain meds and they got really silly together. And then today,
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite lines when he's like, "Are you sure you're reading that right?" She's like, "I know how to read." like they're just so funny together. But I love that she read it. It's just a matter of what it means. And so we watch it all unfold, and I'm waiting for Christina to like connect
To
the
catch
dots.
on.
Like,
I know.
like
It's painful.
it's like, why? Why would my mama be worried about me? I'm getting help, and I'm like, oh wow, wow. Mind you, you're like running over to Elizabeth's house, fearful that you're gonna confess. And so that's the thing, though. I'm like, well, this is perfect because Christina's whole deal is I'm afraid my mom will find out, and now you'll know that your mom found out.
Exactly.
Obviously, this conversation cannot occur in front of Molly, and it's gonna look
No.
weird if either one of them, I don't know, maybe it'll get really intense and be like, Molly, do you mind giving us a minute? Or you know what I mean? Like, or could you go
Yeah.
check on like maybe Alexis will
Go
say
check
something,
on what's his face? Go
Donna
check
and
on.
Cody. But like I'm hoping that like Christina will catch on. She'd be like, do you mind? Yes, I agree. Do you mind making sure that Donna is okay? Something of the sort, right? To when she realizes what's happening. Because I do think she has to end up being committed. I don't know why, but I feel like it's a pivotal piece that needs to occur.
I think so too. Like we talked about, what it would look like if she was committed or wasn't, or what it's all going to come down to. But
Yeah.
it's really significant to her rebirth, right? As like as
Yes.
opposed to Joss and her training.
Yeah, because I think she needs to transition into the darker side, but be a bit more controlled. And also, everything Ava's doing, like, I think Ava's fun, but I mean, she still has it, meaning we could still find Ava in certain lights and in certain storylines where you're like, no, she's villain Ava. And then in
Yes.
others where you like her. And I feel like that's her special power at times, is that I can really not like her in the same time, like in the same day, in the same week, I could be like, oh my God, I love Ava. She's amazing. And I love how she
Yes.
villains. And then I could be like, why are you doing that? But she has that power where I like her and not like her always at the same time. It's amazing. And so, like, I mean, it was extra, right? Everyone thinks you're poor.
Right?
And then you're like buying flashy cars and watches. I was like, you're gonna get, like, how do you explain where the money came from?
In that scene though, I really loved, Rick. I've never seen Rick look at a woman the way he looked at that watch and called it sexy.
I know. Okay. No, I love their scenes together. And I mean, he had to give her that warning, but I thought he was planning on staying anonymous throughout this whole thing. And the scene with Alexis was brutal. Brutal.
He couldn't help himself, and that's again like Rick. He's really good at, not as good as Ava, but dipping out of it, trying to be a good person, and really
Yes.
cannot hold back from sticking with his old wounds.
But yes, and I do think that he is projecting a lot of Sonny onto Christina, and also
100%.
projecting his failure as a father and his absence on Christina too, because
Yes.
Molly might have had the most accurate maybe view of Christina when she says, "Mom always struggled with loving you and controlling you,"
Yes. It was
and that was,
so good.
yeah, that was really fascinating and validating for Christina to kind of hear that yes, there was a dysfunctional relationship with Christina and Alexis, and it wasn't just all Christina. Like, and that's the thing though. Say what you will, but Alexis is literally those two girls. Like, she's exactly like Christina as she is exactly like Molly.
Exactly. No, I
It's
totally agree.
it's really really interesting. But yeah, he was pretty vile in the way that he talked about that, or at the very least had no respect for what Molly loves, and understanding that
Hmm.
while him and his brother could not find a middle ground, that Molly and Christina have for the most part, and it's pretty clear that Molly is determined to have that, and rightfully so. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
her journey, and especially on the heels of Sam. And the thing is, it's like Rick said what he said to Alexis. Alexis' rationale for going along with this is ridiculous, which is basically we have a
Yes.
girls' night. Like, I posted a reel and I'm like, I hope people watch it till the end, because her logic of like, we had a girls' night and they got along for one night. It's like this is meant to be a long-term plan of protecting Christina. And I just think it was so strategic to get her out from under Ava and Rick's thumb. And that's also a reason, right? And I think that's going to be huge when Christina understands why she's doing what she's doing and
Hmm.
keeping it on the low. And then one day coming back for that vengeance on Ava, right?
Yes.
And just being kind of like in on it, and maybe showing Alexis for the first time that she can handle this and she doesn't need her to do this. And now that she knows what's going on, that she'll go along with Diane's plan and get her mom out from under this. Because the fact that Alexis thought this was going to be a one-time payment is
Naive.
laughable. Yeah, and I
Hmm.
don't I don't want to see Alexis unravel at all. And also Ava just stealing Ace's money. Like, all of it is a lot, but I think that Rick is blind, because while he's feeling so high and mighty in this moment, believing that he's watching Alexis's downfall,
Hmm.
I think he fails to see that he risks losing Molly. His view of Christina, his participation in Ava's plan, like, he's not scot free here
Oh
either.
no. Hmm.
Like, Ava was thrown when Alexis says that he knows. And Alexis, I'm like, I get how she has no leverage really over Ava other than the fact that she's being blackmailed. And, obviously Ava can go down for that.
Hmm.
But I feel like she has more leverage with Rick, and being like, but you knew Ava was doing this and you helped her. Like, what do you think Molly's going to say to that?
I know. I was really mad that she didn't come back with like something like that. Exactly that. She just talked about like her relationship and him being an absent father, but that still doesn't speak to what's happening right now.
Yeah, because right now, if Christina is in on this and this conversation ends productively, then at this point, anyone doing any damage would be Rick and Ava. Rick will have to make that decision now that they're not getting the money. Do they out
Yes.
her? Because outing Christina will then out himself. Because now Christina's scot free, right? As soon as Christina commits herself, it doesn't matter what Ava does. It doesn't matter if they
Exactly.
tell.
Hmm.
So I'm curious, because I want to see that play out, right? Like, Rick kind of outlined that to Ava, like, you're underestimating, you're giving Alexis the time to like to strategize. So I really just want to see Diane's strategy unfold.
Me too.
Other stuff happening. I was laughing because you had sent me that clip of like just the sort of like the anniversary clips that they often make, and it was like on Facebook of
Yes.
Jason, like, so the actor Steve Burton calling himself a deadbeat dad. It was pretty amazing.
It really was because we talk about that all the time. Like we
Yeah.
romanticize him, we think about him in the past, but the reality is not so cool on the
Yes.
dad front.
Yeah, so I kind of love that. To me, that was amazing watching him with Danny and just saying some really important stuff about like, it's really good to talk. And I mean, no one got me talking more than your mom. And I just love that when Danny said, Mom taught me how to hit, like how to hit a baseball. Because it's true.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yes.
she's good. She's the one who kicks butt on the baseball teams and she's really into it. So I really like those scenes. And I like that they took the time to address, the impact on Danny having lost Scout, because, like, I mean, that hasn't really been addressed. And the fact that, like, Sam really wanted them together, and the fact that all the kiddos are split apart. And even though Rocco will only be gone part time, just
Mhm.
acknowledging the impact. I mean, I thought it was kind of Lulu to acknowledge that to Rocco, being like, I understand that that is your family. And Rocco saying, I feel like I had an adoptive family.
Yeah, I loved that moment. It was the first good moment I could tolerate with Lulu.
And they're always few and far between. Like, I mean, I appreciated getting Rocco's perspective, right?
Me too.
Understanding that, like, what it does mean to be able to walk down the stairs at his mom's house, which is what, Elizabeth's old house. It looks a little bit different, but it feels like it's Elizabeth's house, right?
That
I
okay,
know
so that's what
that.
I was thinking too, because somebody was kidnapped in the basement, but there was also a house used when somebody was in the basement trying to peek out the window. Can't remember who, but somebody else was it Trina stuck in the basement? Somebody else was stuck in the basement of that
Well, one
house.
time Jordan and Portia were stuck in a basement that was going to explode.
It was that house.
Okay, so, but it's not Elizabeth's house, but it looks
But it
like
might have
Elizabeth.
been. It does look like her house as well.
I'm gonna post it because it's slightly different. Like Elizabeth's old house had a bit of a platform at the entrance, and it doesn't have the door, but the shapes are all there,
Yes.
and they added pillars. But I know exactly that, like when they used it, and I totally know what you mean, that it was used like as a stranger's random house kind of a thing, and
Yes.
it reminds me a little bit of a house Carly used to have, but it is a little bit different. But it reminded me of Elizabeth. So I love it. Buy a house, and then hopefully you get to do contract work.
No, no, but you don't understand. My mesh brain, my logistics corner, everything was screaming like first before she even talked about a freelance. I'm like, this woman is bought this beautiful house, unpacking her bags, ruining people's lives. How did she get her mortgage approved? I somebody please help me.
This is my note that I wrote. On what salary? That's what I wrote. And then I'm like acting innocent while you're trying to find Brooklyn's kid. And I'm so mad that Brooklyn gave her the agency.
I know, but because she has to spill her beans, this Lulu, she's got to say all the things. She's gonna put in a little word document in capital letters.
I'm like, that's being a journalist, Mel. Journalist. Right. All the facts. Like I just couldn't with that. Like
No.
you ask Lucas
Mm.
to come to your home. He's assuming it's just this fluff article where you need a medical opinion. She's like, no, I want to talk to him being adopted. It's like it's really personal. I'm like, leave it to
Really?
Lulu. I'm like, that's Lulu, right? That is exactly the Lulu I know. Just invasive and presumptuous.
Hmm.
Lucas is
Oh
willing
yeah,
to
big
talk,
time.
but you like if this was like a real article and you're talking to real people, you would want to say, hey, I'm writing an article on this. It's a very sensitive topic. Would you like to contribute? You wouldn't just invite people over blindly and expect them in that moment while he's on a break from work to talk about all of this.
Hmm.
And then, like, right when she's at her laptop, writing all the questions related to Brook Lynn and being like, what agency? So you agreed to keep it a secret, but you were going to hunt for this child. And then Brooklyn comes in. She's like, what do you mean? I'm not, this isn't anything. And then she's telling Dante, he's like, is there any truth to what Brooklyn's saying? She's like, no, not at all. I didn't know about the adoption. That one, the word I knew. you know I was just like I just couldn't. I'm like, you suck, like you suck so much.
So
But that it's
much.
funny how like that situation was odd and it didn't make much sense, but Dante by reflex was like, okay, all right, be kinder to Brooklyn. And when Brooklyn was walking away, he wanted to follow her. He's like, can I go with
I
you?
know.
So it's like his impulse is to take her side, even though he didn't really know it. It didn't make sense. You're like, so Brooklyn heard around town that Lulu was writing an article about adoption for another town.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Hmm.
felt it was close to home because she had a private conversation with her husband about adopting that Lulu didn't know about and was like, that's insensitive. And he was just like, okay,
Yeah.
there's probably something to what Brooklyn is saying here. There's really not. Like this doesn't make any sense.
Any sense.
This would be one of those times where on the surface it would make sense to side with Lulu, as much as it pains me.
I know, for real
Brooklyn was
though.
making none of the sense. But I loved it when she said to Lulu, just tell him then if it means so much to you. And Lulu was like, yes, but no. And I loved it when she put it on her and then you deal with the follow up because it's like, yeah, you have to explain what you did, that you went, you broke in, you found the information, you made all of these assumptions. Like,
What made me laugh is when she said, "You can go ahead and tell him, and then you'll deal with the consequences." It looked like Lulu didn't know what that word meant.
no, she like didn't know. She's like, will he love me or not love me? Because I don't think she likes it either when Brooklyn points out that like Dante is grieving Sam.
I know she
She's like,
hates
so
it.
I'm told. But I feel like that is Lulu being genuine, being like, I'm not going to do it, but like, I do disagree. And I'm like, that's the thing, Lulu. Like, your opinion is just doesn't matter in this situation. Like, even the fact that you feel that you can even say, I disagree with what you're doing, like, even the fact that you're saying that, I'm like, neither here nor there. This was never about you. You don't get to have a say. Again, I feel the same. You went to go look through confidential files. Whatever you found had to stay with you. That's the deal. You don't get to go look into confidential files and decide it's interesting enough and insert yourself in it. Like when you did your B&E, you signed up for that burden. So stop pointing fingers.
I totally agree. And like a frustrating part of that conversation was how, she's telling Brooklyn, like, what about my kid? Like, my kid's missing out on a brother. So, and that is after the conversation she has with her son, who says, it's like I'm a part and I'm an adoptive family. Sam took us in. So instead of her focusing on what that family looks like, getting to know Danny, getting to know Scout, she completely ignores it and hyper focuses on this long lost sibling, whereas he has chosen siblings right here in town that you are not getting to know that he loves,
That
much
was
less
the
bringing this new person in.
but like also like Brooklyn pointed out, in Lulu's mind, she's like, once you tell this secret, everyone's gonna be happy. Like that's full stop. That's where Lulu's at.
Yep.
She's
Yep.
like Gio's gonna be happy. She doesn't know it's Gio, but she's like, Dante's gonna be happy. Your son's gonna be happy. His dead parents are gonna be happy. His like, you know what I mean? Like this poor guy. Like she doesn't understand. Like there is truth to that. Like it will kill Gio, right? Because he has his mom that
Yeah.
passed. So it is way more complicated than Lulu thinks it will be. And it is true that she's not thinking about anyone else. Like she's not really even thinking about Brooklyn's child. And of course, that's all Brooklyn is thinking about, just her kid. And Lulu is
Yes.
thinking about it from every angle except for that kid. And I feel like, in terms of talking to Rocco about his adopted family, I feel like that's the most questions she's ever asked him.
Yes,
Like she hasn't
absolutely.
asked the kid anything. And like you said, take the time to understand and maybe even facilitate some of these relationships. Like listen to Rocco. Like, of course he could see Danny whenever. Have any of you asked, like, do you mind, Lulu, if their whole brothership continues at your home? Could Danny maybe
Yes.
come by sometime? Like when the
Hmm.
boys are ready and when Danny feels ready, because it is hard. And I like that Jason brought that up. It must be difficult, to miss your mom and feel like maybe you can't talk about it with Rocco. But I feel like that would be a huge step, is that Danny would also have a choice. And that is a gift that you could give to Sam. Show some interest in her kid.
Exactly. How to honor her would be exactly that way. How to build your relationship with Rocco is show who you can be to his other siblings.
Yeah, build a relationship with Danny. Encourage Rocco to
Hmm.
be like, hey, if you want to come here and Danny also wants to come, like he can come here too. And I mean, this would be very beyond Lulu, but I mean, if she were to extend herself, she used to have a relationship with Willow, to go talk to Drew and try to arrange some time with Scout. You know what I mean? Like that could be amazing for her to do.
Yeah, that's I feel like that's so outside of her bubble though. It's just sadly we're never going to see that.
But remember, it's been highlighted this week that
Hmm.
Rocco would be at his mom's 50% of the time.
Yes.
And he loves his mom, right?
Yeah.
How is he going to feel when Gio gets to be with his papa 100% of the time?
He's not going to like it.
Like, I can't tell you how excited I am about that because it's just so complicated. Like, it's seeing like how far will this go? How will it come out? How will Gio feel about Lulu, right? He's already had an encounter with her.
Yeah,
Rocco's
brutal
already
one.
jealous of Gio. Gio already has this like individual relationship with Dante. He already seeks Dante out for advice. He adores Brook Lynn. He adores the Quartermains. Like the damage that will incur, the family he grew up with, like he'll be grieving. Like, Brooklyn might have given up a child, but it's not like Brooklyn knew anything that Geo was her. So this is going to be a shock. And even though Brooklyn kept this secret, that's going to be the bonding point is that Brooklyn, Geo, Dante, they all didn't know.
Exactly.
Like that's not something that can be blamed on each other. But man, was Lois sweating because she's like, I don't have a name for an agency. What do I say?
That was intense. And then when Ned comes
Oh,
in and they're talking about him having a grandkid, like it's hard because exactly what you're saying. Like so many people's lives are impacted. At the end of the day, Brooklyn made a decision, but she was a teenager, and a lot has changed. But she had two adults that hid this from everybody.
oh yeah, like this is like I 100% can't wait for all of this to break loose. One more mini storyline before we go.
Yes.
Some reason, and it only happened once. It was really important to show that like Emma dumpster scene with with Joss.
That okay. What do you make of that scene? Like, is it a bonding? Like them working together? Is Emma gonna be like helpful to Joss in this process of her getting this job, or is Joss just gonna take it away from her? Like, help.
I think it's just old school frenemyship, but not as savage as the past in terms of two female characters.
Fair. And I did like that they shared what their thoughts were on each other in their younger days and how like they never knew what the other person thought. Like I thought that was really important for them to share.
I mean, what Emma shared though, her thoughts, she needs to kind of share them with a professional and have a
Yes.
professional help her sort through all of that because Emma's logic is just a little too much. Like you get everything and I'm like, so you're referencing when you guys were what, like 10? You know nothing about her life. Like she literally lost two boyfriends
Yeah.
to death.
Hmm.
Like like I'm just
It's not funny, but yes,
you know
too.
what I mean? I'm just saying, like, her life hasn't been light. Her brother is recovering from burns. Like, she's had a lot of things happen to her, and Emma hasn't. She hasn't
No,
exactly struggled, which is why she's trying so hard to create a struggle. And she needs someone to feed off on. Like the fact that she was saying you were so fearless and I was jealous. And I'm like, well, you were fearless too. You successfully knocked out a security guard. Like, what do you want? You know what I mean? Like, a
I
lot
know.
of what she was jealous of was like, okay, I get it. You guys are expressing your thoughts about one another, but you're also growing up now. So, and you're saying you want to be this person. So then be who you want to be and stop blaming other people if you find that you can't be that. And I think that's the whole point. She needs to exist in contrast to someone. Is this the whole point? Like, oh, my parents are so perfect, they don't understand me. So she's like reacting to that. And now she needs to react off of Jocelyn. Like, she really is not her own person. She's a
No,
person who's in reaction to others. And this whole bonding for what? All you saw was maybe like Emma noticing her foot injury. So possibly she may be on to Jaws at some point. But we also know there's future conflict to happen because she is going to end up screwing Emma over. She's clearly going to be taking down this professor that Emma likes so much. So I could see
hmm,
how Emma will interfere with one of Joss's plans and get caught in the middle and have this sort of like opposite sides, weird buddy cop, comedy frenemy type situation.
well, it's like it would be cute if they had like an Anna Carly dynamic situation, right? But I don't know who's because Joss is very controlled and Emma is all over the place like Anna.
But it is that. I feel like it would be a Carly, Anna, like that kind of dynamic where it's like they kind of have respect for each other, right? They don't
Yes,
necessarily hate each other, but they're not always liking each other, right?
exactly.
It's just a tame frenemyship and
I love
funny.
it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have one favorite line. I'm going to share it, and that way it'll give you time to gather they're yours.
Okay.
So my favorite line is with Ava and Alexis says, "You're being unreasonable," and Ava's like, "Well, that's the downside of being blackmailed."
It's like I think Alexis forgets she's being blackmailed.
Honestly, I agree because it's like new for her, I guess.
This is what you signed up for, literally.
And it never ends. Like I think she's just shocked that she's asking. She's like, "More? This is how this works." Do you have any favorite lines?
I said them already.
Okay.
And I liked just a lot of things, you know? I liked a lot of things that happened.
Okay, so that means we're gonna give stars to
Yes.
everybody, and then we'll go to what would be your cutie pie mention.
Oh, the boys, for sure. Like my cutie pie mention goes to Danny and Rocco. And stars to like everyone. Willow, she's willowing, but mostly, you know what, Nina and Portia, Carly scenes, Dante and Jason, Jordan, Joss and Emma, fine. Diane,
The
Molly,
the
Cody.
dynamic, exactly. All of their dynamics were fantastic, but I'm gonna give like a little shout out to Cody in his drugged up state, talking about potentially being in the nurses' ball as the head person who will be doing the magic Milo show.
He did? How did I miss that?
Because he said something about the Thunder Down Under or Thunder, which is like
Oh,
a male
yes.
strip group.
Yes. I know you know. You had a phase. Um
I was young once.
I I like the Brook Lynn scenes with Cody where he's like, "Oh, aren't you a married lady?" She's like, "Have you seen my husband?" He's like, that was my favorite line.
So cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what are you gonna do this weekend, lady?
Coloring challenge. So something that I love that my kiddos love to do with the Cutie Pie coloring book is that they like taking the characters and then trying to transform them into whatever favorite superhero they like. And that's been really fun for them and they've been really creative about it. So if anybody's looking to basically get creative and create something and color and have some fun, you can check out our at Cutie Pie Coloring page on Instagram and we're on Amazon.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, folks. That's a wrap. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye bye.
Bye.